All right, let's do a little geometry with cylinders. So suppose you have a small cylinder over here, 3 inches in height here, a radius of 2 on the top. Then you have a larger cylinder that has the same radius, but it's twice as tall. So this is 3 inches, this is 6 inches. All the other dimensions on the cylinder or on the cylinders are the same. So one is twice as tall, but other than that, they're the same dimensions. Anyway, so you see problems like this all the time in geometry. You see it on ACT tests, things like that. There's kind of a long way to compare and a short way. I'm going to show you both. Okay, so the question comes up something like this, not just what's the volume of this one or what's the volume of that one. That wouldn't be too hard to do. I mean, you just use the volume is pi r squared h. So that's the formula for the volume of a cylinder. But the question sometimes comes up, hey, how do the volumes compare with one another? So let's consider the long way first. Okay, so the long way is just to bust it out. You write down the formula, plug in the numbers. The radius was 2, the height was 3. You follow the order of operations. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. It's going to be 12 pi. Of course, you can throw in 3.141592 and kind of get a decimal number here, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to call it 12 pi. All right, so that's 12 pi. Come over here, do similar things. Plug in the 2 for the radius. The height on this one's 6. Do the math. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 pi. So if you ask me how much larger is this cylinder than that one, I'm going to say it has twice the volume, because 2 times 12 pi is 24 pi. Well, that's the long way. So I can look. I can say, hey, what do you multiply times this to get it to be that? Well, you multiply this by 2, so this has twice the volume. That's the long way to do it. The short way to do it doesn't involve any calculations whatsoever. We could just look at this and say, hey, one of the dimensions, this dimension, the length, and compared with this one's twice as big as that. So if one of the dimensions on the cylinder is twice as big as the other, then this one's going to have twice the volume. It's just that simple. I could say, hey, this one's twice as big without doing any calculations. So ponder that. That's important. Now, the trick, though, is that sometimes they change more than one dimension. Like, for example, what if this stayed the same? This was 2 and 3. But what if I changed this to 4? And this to 6. In other words, all the dimensions are twice as big. Then when you do the math on this, the volume is pi times the radius squared times the height. This ends up being 96 pi. 96 pi. And when you compare that to this is 8 times bigger. So 96 pi is 8 times bigger. 8 times 12 is 96. So this is 8 times bigger. That's the long way, is to actually calculate this one, which didn't change. Calculate this one, well, it's a whole lot bigger, and then compare. But here's the shortcut. Listen, if I changed all of the dimensions, the radius and the height, and in the formula you only have radius and height. Those are the only dimensions you have. If both of those dimensions are twice as big, and they are, then because volume is a cubic measurement, I'm going to say this one's going to be 2 cubed bigger. 2 cubed is 8. Did you catch that? So since volume is a cubic measurement, so cubic centimeters, cubic inches, whatever, in this situation it is inches. It's got the 2 little marks here. So this is 96 pi cubic inches, and this was 12 pi cubic inches. So since volume is a cubic measurement, if you double all of the dimensions, the radius and the height, then this is going to be 2 cubed bigger in terms of volume. So 2 to the third power is 8. So this is 8 times bigger. Well, I hope that makes sense. If not, maybe you can replay the video or ask me sometimes when you see me. This is huge. This can quicken your process of solving a similar problem to this. But you got to be smart. You got to be wise. It's easy to mess up on this. In the worst case scenario, if you're not sure, you can calculate and kind of prove to yourself the shortcut. See ya.